By the end of this video, you're going to know exactly what stretch you need to improve your hip mobility and hip pain. Now, before we go any further, do me a favor, make sure you're subscribed to the channel, you have notifications turned on, you leave a comment below and give a thumbs up if you like the video, because I'll be able to keep bringing you awesome content just like this. And look, the first 5 people who comment below, I'm going to send you my ultimate hip mobility manual. This is something that only my clients get access to, and it is one of the best resources that I've ever seen on the internet. But look, that's just me bragging about me. Anyway, let's dive into this. So this is option number 1. If you're someone who has a hard time getting down on your knees, or someone who has very limited mobility, practicing using a chair or a bench is great. Plus you can do this stretch when you're at work. So we're gonna pretend we're sitting in a chair. The hardest part for a lot of people when they're doing the hip flexor stretch, which is what this whole video is focused on, is that they are always moving around the area that is tightest. So an example would be they come into a position like this and they get this big, I'm not saying that you're this flexible or in this position even, but this is what kind of trips them up. They get here and it's a little too much for them. So what we're going to do is you're going to put one foot down directly at a 90-degree angle. You're sitting on your chair, and all you're going to do is, instead of letting your butt stick out, you're just going to tuck your hip. So one more time, instead of your butt sticking out, you're just going to tuck the hip as if you're trying to get your front to touch your belly button. So one more time, back and front. Here, you're probably going to feel a huge stretch. This is the first place to be. Feel stretch here, feels good. You can reach one arm up and over your head, reach to the side, and you get a nice stretch. You only have to hold for like 20 seconds at the most, and then you switch sides. Now, if that is easy for you, you're going to want to try this next option. Your common hip flexor stretch that you'll see a lot of people do. I'm going to move this box out of the way. Common hip flexor stretch that you'll see a lot of people do is they'll come into something like this, and they'll be like, oh, I'm stretching my hip, feels great. Actually, what you're doing, my fellow yogi, people in yoga, I see you do this a lot, is you're actually moving around that tight area in the hip and you're making it more of a ankle stretch, which is great. This in and of itself is awesome, but we're actually trying to get our hip to be more loosey-goosey. So what we want to do is we want to be up tall. We want to do the same thing like we did in the chair. Tuck that hip, keep a tall spine, and wow, you're going to feel a stretch already. As you tuck your hip, you want to think about squeezing your glutes. Now you feel a big stretch. This is level 1. Level 2 is what we're after though. We're going to perform what we call a dynamic contraction. A dynamic contraction is just us being able to move in and out of the stretched position with control. Flexibility is not what you're actually after, although you think that's what you're working towards. What we want is strength at our end range, which happens to be mobility, strength and flexibility together. Now, one would argue that you need flexibility before you can have mobility. I'm not going to disagree. However, you can actually train for flexibility by training for your mobility. I'm using mobility throughout this entire video. Some people use it interchangeably with flexibility, but I just want some clarity on the topic. So what we're going to do is dynamically move in and out of that position. And the way we're going to do that is by performing this dynamic contraction that's almost like you're trying to knee someone in the face. I know, that's lovely, right? So you want to think of it this way. If I was to knee someone in the face, and I'm going to stand up slightly, if I was to knee someone in the face, I'd pull my knee up like this, and I'd control it, right? Well, the same idea applies here. So I'm in this tucked position, and what I'm actually going to do is going to be a small range of motion here. Is in this tucked position, I'm going to pull myself forward and pull myself out. So there's that action. Dynamic contraction is very small. This is a very big stretch. Notice that my legs are far enough apart. I'll stretch it so you can see my legs are not stacked like this. We want actually a wide base of support. You can go a little bit wider actually if that's going to help you stay balanced. But in general, we want both hips, we want our hips squared forward, tuck our hips, perform that dynamic contraction. Now, anywhere from between 5 to 10 dynamic contractions is more than enough. On that 10th one, notice I'm in a very small range of motion, still not going very big. On the 10th one, I'm going to pull myself a little bit deeper into the stretch by imagining that there's an orange behind my kneecap, and I'm trying to squeeze that orange, we're actually pulling ourselves deeper. You'll feel your hamstring click on. And you'll hold that stretch position for about 20 seconds. And then after the 20 seconds, you'll repeat. So you can do about 2 sets of that is a great starting point. Now, if you have a hard time being in that position because of balance, get yourself a box. I'm going to do this on the opposite side. I'll have one leg forward, the other leg back, actually, so you can see me. Let me just do the same side again, and I'm only going to be able to turn in one direction now. But have this box, chair, bench, whatever you want in front of you, you can hold on to it. And now, you're going to have a little bit more support here as you do this dynamic contraction. Something to help you balance so you don't have to worry about falling. And you might be saying to yourself, well, how often do I have to do that kind of stretch? I would say every time you really want to do this after a workout, or you can even do it to prime that area for your workout, because you're actually strength training. Like, you're strengthening that end range of motion, and then if you load it up with something like a squat, you're going to have more range of motion that you can train at end range with added load, which as a result will help you maintain that range of motion, which is really cool. And that's how you get into things like being able to go into like something like a split while you're cold, because you're training at that end range. So I would say either in your movement prep, doing like maybe 1 set on each side, and then at the end of your workout, maybe 2 sets. 3 max would be more than enough. You don't want to do so much that you're too sore to do anything the next day. So that was the second variation. The third variation is probably my favorite. So this is the third variation. Now I'm using parallettes here. If you don't have parallettes, it's no big deal. You can use 2 benches, you can use the railing on stairs, you can use 2 chairs. It doesn't really matter, just something that you can hold on to. Also, when you're first getting started with this, you might be doing it closer to standing anyway, but it is a more advanced variation. The hips can move in multiple directions, right? We can move front to back, side to side, rotate. We often only train one range of motion, but we really want to be able to move through all 3 planes of motion. And that's why these dynamic contractions are going to take advantage of that. So what we're going to do is we're going to get into, you, my friend, are going to get into your widest version of like a split. So I'm not going all the way in right now. I have a slight bend in my front knee because we don't want to be hyperextended here. That's actually not going to feel groovy on our hamstring, so bend it. Our intended target is the back hip. So what we're going to do is we have the initial dynamic contraction we know, which is back, front, back, front. Now we're going to keep doing this. We're going to do between 5 to 10. Say we do 5, and then the next movement is side to side. So we're going to hold on to this and we're going to shift our hips side to side, like you're shaking your butt. Side to side, side to side, side to side. So once you finish that one, now we're going to do some internal rotation. So we're going to rotate in to that opposite leg, right? And this rotation is going to feel really good. We're winding the glute up for that front leg, so we have a little more awareness in the front. And we finished that. So we did that in every direction. Now what we're going to do is we're going to move a little bit deeper into that stretch. Now again, this is me being years of doing this. I don't expect you to look like this. I expect you to find your level of flexibility that allows you to feel comfortable, relatively speaking. Of course, it's going to be uncomfortable, but I mean, where you are able to hold that position with control and demonstrate control throughout the whole movement. So we're going to go back and front again. One more time. Front, back, front, and now we're going to go side to side. 2. And we want to keep our hips engaged, like we're not relaxing our butt. I'm squeezing my butt right now. So I'm actually engaging all of that musculature through the hip. And now we're going to squeeze our butt to get a little bit deeper. Now we're in our split. Well, at least I'm in my split. So those are some variations that you can try for your hip flexor flexibility. All else, you want to make sure that you are subscribed, you have notifications turned on, you leave a comment below if there's any other sort of mobility you want me to cover. Like, is there a specific movement that you think man, I'm having a hard time with that. Maybe he could do a bit of more of a tutorial about it. Well, let me know, because I'm always down to do more nutrition, more training, more mobility, whatever it is, because I want to help you. Give a thumbs up if you like this video. And remember, the first 5 people who comment below, I am going to send you my ultimate hip mobility manual for free. It is chef's kiss, very good. Without further ado, I want to let you know that you're one day away from getting back on track and one day away from realizing how fucking amazing